Like and subscribe right now, or else this will be in your bed tonight. Sex workers of Reddit, what's the weirdest kink a customer has asked you to fulfill? Online only here, I had a man pay me $500 to sit on my feet in panties and a t-shirt and turn my back to the camera and play video games while ignoring the camera. Worth. Edit. Since this blew up, it was via cam online, so he wasn't there in person. Yes, I have below zero. I bought it day one, but unfortunately my PC has way too low specs for it, so it sits unplayed in my Steam account. Thanks for all the fun comments guys. I did not expect this to go off like it did. You're all cool people. What game did you play? Wow, that's a lot of upvotes. Subnautica. I needed to grind some materials anyways for my Cyclops, so it was easy to pass the time that way. Honestly, this guy sounds like he wanted a girlfriend experience. I've watched my girlfriend play Persona 5 in her panties and it's pretty wholesome. Just a level of comfort. Hope he finds one. Or maybe the only way he can grind his Cyclops is to watch someone grind Forthers. Oh, I also had a guy out of his mind on Molly, had me over for like 5 hours, but had me arrive at midnight, then proceeded to dress me in every Halloween costume he had ever worn, and photograph me in pirate stuff, LOTR costume, and there was a large staff taller than I am. Guy who makes the radio T out of vids. Why didn't I get on the vid? I have hella upvotes and 2 awards. Kinda sad about it. I put on his wizard hat and robe. I cast LVL3 eroticism. I used to sell a friend of mine sleeping pills. She had a client who liked them being injected to his dick and tried to fuck her before he went to sleep. Would take about 10 to 15 minutes before he crashed out. She was always paid up front and she would leave when he fell asleep. Well, that's one way to flip drugs. I could never imagine getting injected into the dick. Saw this thing years ago, was something like 101 ways to die. This guy used a dirty heroin needle to the dick and it got infected and basically fell off and then he died. F that. I got injected in the dick 4 times before my circumcision. Was worth it, but wouldn't recommend it. Just to clarify, I got this done because it was medically necessary. Anyone who just decides one day that they fancy their foreskin chopping off should seek psychological help. Just out of curiosity, how old were you when you had your circumcision? I've thought about doing it as an adult, but TBH I'm kinda scared. Was it for medical reasons? And was it worth it? Yes, for medical reasons. I was 26. Sex was too painful as I had a tight frenulum. Only had sex a handful of times up to that point. It was only when I met my current partner and started having it regularly I noticed it was online getting more painful, so I decided to get it checked out. Interesting, I had the same problem. It was slowing, get less tight, until about 2 years into the relationship we had 6, and I went a bit hard and pulled out with blood everywhere. I had torn my frenulum, hurt like a bitch 4-3 says, and then 8 years I haven't had a single problem since. Edit. I hate how many upvotes this is getting. One of the worst moments of my life lol. Edit. Don't let this be my most upvoted comment. Edit. Great, now it's gilded too. In a special massage place, friend of a friend of a friend told me that one of her customer comes in regularly to get his ass cheek scratched for 1 hour. That sounds heavenly. I'd like that TBH. A customer had a fishing fetish, got fisher outfits for some girls like a raincoat or some shit, and brought a fishing rod, boots and all, and the girls had to act like they were fishing him while he was laying on the floor and moved like a fish. Craziest shit I heard, but whatever floats their boat I guess. Sounds like you met a sketch comedy artist. I was camming and a guy wanted to start a paper-minute camming show. I agreed and just casually talked with him for a bit. Then to the weird part. He wanted me to lie in full view of the camera, completely still, like literally not move. I spent about an hour just laying completely still and making no sound. I have no idea what he got out of it. I heard that some artists ask cam girls to do some certain things so they can draw them and work on anatomy. I was a cab driver for several years, night shift, ghetto, loved that job. I had a regular escort who always requested me, probably because I didn't ask her for anything whilst driving her to her next job. She'd go up into an apartment, house, or hotel room and have me wait, sometimes a full hour, but rarely over 15 minutes. I never argued because waiting and a return trip keeps the meter running longer. One time she came down after maybe 10 minutes. She looked half amused and half terrified. She said that the guy had her put on a muumuu and an old lady wig, then yelled at him while he took a shit, and, edit for clarification, during, he j***ed off. F***ing weird. Freud would have something to say about that guy, no doubt. I'm an erotica writer, and I've had some strange requests for commissions over the years. I've written about the guy who wanted to be sounded by a Hot Wheels car before, but there have been a bunch of times when people have asked for things that have been unusual. I had one guy who was really into whatever a bird furry is, a feathery, I suppose, and asked for a story about getting a hand job from someone with an eagle claw. I pointed out that would technically be a foot job, and he never got back to me. There was also one guy who wanted me to edit his writing and just berate him for all his mistakes in the comments. Basically, he wanted a sort of Microsoft Word student/teacher role play thing where I'd correct all his errors and tell him what a stupid little boy he was and how he was going to be a failure as a writer and no one would ever read his stuff. I didn't take the job in the end because it felt a little too close to just talking this guy off rather than writing a story, and I was in a relationship at the time, and b, he offered about 2/3 of what my then editing rate was. If he wanted an editing job and to get off from it, my logic went, he should have been paying more, not less. There have also been a couple of people who've asked for writing based on an image prompt, which is fine, but usually it's a sexy woman or a particularly fetishy image, you know, latex, bondage, all that good stuff. One guy sent me a picture of a chair, just a chair by itself. It was a very nice chair, but I had to check with him before I wrote it in case I'd missed something about the whole transaction. In the end, I wrote a very nice little piece about a woman bent over it, waiting for her dom to come home and f*** her. Turned out he wasn't a chair fetishist, he just liked my work and wanted to see what I'd come up with. Everybody f***s funny. I love how you don't want to sound rude when talking about the chair. It was a very nice chair. This is the definition of no kink shaming. It was genuinely a nice chair. I mean, if you were going to jerk off to a chair, that chair would have to be a strong contender for being the sort of chair you jerk off to. It was that sort of a chair. A client pays me to teach him how to blow his nose properly, making sure to say key phrases like blow it clear. Another one set up a fantasy scenario where I receive an expensive vibrator in the mail, but when I open it, discover a tiny man that's stuck in it. He said what you don't know is that man was a factory worker that got stuck in the vibrator making it. I was obviously confused to where he wanted me to go with this, but suggested I should try using the vibrator with the man attached. Nope. The client replied I can't come unless you destroy it. Hahaha. These are great. Some people have such specific kinks. I had a puss baby once whose dialogue was so extensive. It was hard in the beginning because you could just hear him playing out past abuse. But I knew I could help him without judgment and he wouldn't get the same treatment from everyone. It was hard work because he wanted me to spank him with my bare hand at the end. Turns out it's hard to spank someone. I think the strangest I've ever gotten was a man who had a huge fetish for Disney characters. And I'm not even talking just Disney princesses, he loved shit like Lilo and Stitch or Pooh Bear. He regularly paid me several hundred to dress up as his favorite characters and basically verbally abuse him. It was a sweet gig while it lasted, however strange. Nothing really surprises me anymore after that one. Edit. This blew up way more than I expected. I'll try and get to everyone's questions and messages eventually. Thank you all for being so kind and open-minded. Honestly, the idea of somebody shit-talking me while cosplaying a Disney character sounds so absurdly hilarious that I think it could actually be a fun time. Just not a legitimately sexy time. It actually is fun sometimes. I love being a dominatrix. It's just hard to stay in character and act sexy while I'm dressed up as Pooh Bear. I used to drive around prostitutes and do security for them very regularly. One of the girls would get a call from this guy who would have her show up in steel toe boots and kick him repeatedly in the dick and face as hard as she could. He paid her $200 to beat him until he passed out, usually 6 to 8 minutes. That became a once or twice a week thing for well over a year I was driving her. I'll never understand how people can get sexual enjoyment from being physically hurt like that. Totally baffles me, but I guess, if he kept hiring her, he must have really got a kick out it. Thank you very much for watching. In the comments under the video, write something on this topic, and also do not forget to watch our other videos. Bye.